Welcome back. You're watching Morning Live. As promised after our sports bulletin, I said that we would have a chat with Coudjoe Amakwaa about the last 16 and what's happened so far at the FIFA World Cup. So the last African team standing, Senegal, bowed out of the 2018 FIFA World Cup after losing by a 0-0 against Colombia. But it wasn't that result that actually kicked them out of the competition. Senegal needed just a point to reach the next round, but they'll head home after missing out on the runners-up spot to Japan because of a worse disciplinary record known as the FIFA Fair Play rule. It was the first time in World Cup history that a team had been eliminated by the number of yellow cards that they had accrued in the group stages of the competition. We're now joined in studio by soccer analyst Coudjoe Amakwaa. A very good morning to you. Welcome to Morning Live.
Thank you very, very much for having me here.
There was some colleagues of mine that were very angry this morning, saying that this is not a fair play rule at all.
No, then those colleagues don't follow football. Rules are rules, and you've got to respect rules. At the beginning of the tournament, all the 32 teams knew that discipline will be one of the aspects to judge if the points and the goals and everything are the same. And at the end of the day, you saw a Senegalese team that played so well, had 6 yellow cards against Japan that had 4. Rules are rules. Hard as it may be, that is the rules, and unfortunately, Africa missed out. A complete wipe out. And these things happened the first time in 1982, when the World Cup was held under the 24 team in Spain, where Italy won, and of course, Cameroon and Nigeria came home. They couldn't go to the next round. From there, an African team have always made it to the knockout stages. This time around, very unfortunate, very sad, a complete wiped out, and it calls for a total introspection by the leadership of African football to look into the problems.
I want to speak a little bit more about Africa's performance at the World Cup, but first I want to speak about VAR, because discipline and decisions when it comes to disciplinary matters have really kind of captured the spotlight at this World Cup. What do you make of the video assistant referee and the number of yellow cards that we've actually seen being handed out in the group stages?
The VAR was touted under Sepp Blatter's reign, and he flatly refused. Because there is a cardinal point in football. The referee's decision is final. We saw in a scenario where the linesman says it's an offside and Spain could have gone out. And they went and consulted the VAR. And at the end of the day, I would say the VAR is bogus. It didn't help Africa. In the end, there was a penalty that was given to Senegal. And again, the VAR reversed it. And when you look at it very critically, in my view, I'm of the view that the VAR is in an attempt to aid the so-called established powerhouses to go through. It didn't do any good to the African teams, and it should be scrapped altogether, because if the referee's decision is not final, then who should decide? It's like myself being a judge in my court, and then after taking a decision, I've got to call somebody else to endorse my decision. It's very, very wrong.
But Coudjoe, there are some things you as one person only with 2 eyes sometimes miss, which the cameras don't miss, you being see, all around.
The beauty of football is the talking points. Referees are human, they make decisions. If that is the case, then Diego Maradona's goal in 1986, winning them the World Cup, shouldn't have stood. Because we go to the VR and we see that, and he says it's a hand of God goal. It helped Argentina to win their second World Cup. At the end of the day, referees must make decisions at the spur of the moment. And with all its mistakes and human flaws, we take it as is. If the referee is going to take a decision and later reverse the decision, I'm asking you a simple question. Is the referee's decision final? No. And it doesn't make the game well. The stoppage and all those things, this is not coming yesterday. It was during Sepp Blatter's time. And Blatter, in his wisdom, to leave football the way it is without diluting it, refused. I'm very surprised that Gianni Infantino went for it, and it didn't help Africa, because indeed, if VAR was to help, then a penalty should have been awarded to Seydou Mane to have scored the first goal. Yeah. And the result should have been 1-1 for Senegal to go through. We're sitting here looking at the World Cup where Africa have prepared adequately. The qualifications for African Cup of Nations in 2019 in Cameroon was sort of postponed to allow for these 5 teams to prepare adequately. They were given $500,000 as part of the compensation to prepare, so that the players do not go there and bicker and fight over bonuses. So this time around, Africa prepared adequately, but unfortunately, they couldn't go to the next round. And for me, a complete wiped out. It calls for all stakeholders to begin to get a technical report, to study, to see how we went wrong. Where were the flaws? And for me, I can tell you for free. When there were set pieces, Africans switch off. In dead ball situations, we switch off. And at the end of the day, we conceded goals in the last minute and in corner kicks and in free kicks. It's an indication that our players somehow are not prepared adequately. Sometimes you've got to play football with your heart to make sure that you die for the flag and the country and the continent. That is what all other continents are doing except the African teams.
There's no lack of passion in the Nigerian team. What happened there?
They were supposed to have gone through. 4 minutes to go. They had Argentina on the couch. What happens? They played an open game. What was the referee thinking? Calls into question, should you always import coaches from elsewhere to come and coach us? Because at the end of the day, if I was the referee, 10 minutes to go, I would have bring defend-minded players to come and help me cross the line. They didn't do that. And with an Argentinian team that have Higuain, that have Aguero, that have Messi, that have some of the best players in the world, can you really play an open game against them? The tactics was wrong. Argentina scored the second goal, and Nigeria comes home.
Okay, we were discussing this after our sports bulletin. Who would win the World Cup now that we've reached the last 16? So Sakina says France. Leanne's got her money on Argentina. Our control room's got their money on Portugal and Brazil. They're still to decide. I say Belgium. Who do you pick to win the World Cup?
Belgium is a dark horse. I will agree with you. But you cannot discount Argentina. Lionel Messi said something. He said he will sacrifice all his personal accolades and the Ballon d'Or and the Champions League he's won with Barcelona to win the World Cup for Argentina. You could see the stress on his shoulder, because in Argentina, as long as he has not won them the World Cup, Diego Maradona will be the god of Argentina. And Argentinians are itching to have a World Cup. They've won it in 1978 and 1986. And they need another World Cup. And in my view, I think Argentina are poised nicely, because they started very badly. And if they pace themselves up moving forward and begin to get their rhythm, they'll be the team to watch.
Sure, it certainly has been a World Cup of so many surprises, so many records, and we've only just reached the round of 16 tomorrow. Coudjoe Amakwaa, thank you very much for coming into studio to chat to us. Whew. Wow, I can't wait. The last 16 gets underway tomorrow when it comes to the FIFA World Cup. The group stages are concluded. Africa doesn't have a representative in the knockout stage of the competition, but the action is going to continue in Russia. Time now for us to take a quick break.